I'm Scott Reese, ACBR Education Chairman, and with me is our Vice Chair, Jim Caswell. Since we will not be able to gather together for several months and host some terrific education seminars, we want to find other ways to reach out to our members. Also, we realize that we are experiencing rapid changes in our industry, and we want to do all we can to bring you the most relevant, up-to-date information. Therefore, we are going to present weekly video snacks for our members until we can get back to our regularly scheduled monthly seminars. We will be putting these together on a regular basis and plan on hosting at least 1 to 2 times each week, depending on availability of our guest speakers. Just like everyone else, we'll be doing these from our homes, so please excuse any interruptions.
Thank you, Scott. And this is Jim Caswell. We'd like to say first and foremost that none of this would be possible without the support of our annual corporate sponsors and our annual education sponsors. They have been longtime supporters of the ACBR, and let's be sure the next time you have a video chat or you see one of our sponsors, you thank them for their support. We hope you enjoy the videos. We hope that you stay safe out there.
So on behalf of the Education Committee and our commercial board, we are excited to bring you these important and timely conversations, and we hope you enjoy our snacks.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our Zoom call here today. We are here with some industry pioneers and some leaders who have taken some time out of their schedule to share with us what's going on with their firms. So I'm pleased to introduce you to Steve Dils, Frank Simpson, and Keene Miller. These are all names that y'all will know and recognize from their leadership positions here in Atlanta and the firms that they represent. So I thought maybe we could just kind of go around the horn and allow everyone who may have not had a chance to know you yet or meet you yet, maybe just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your firm, and maybe a little bit about some of your involvement in the commercial real estate industry, both locally and nationally, because we're fortunate to have some pretty robust resumes here. So why don't we start here with Steve? Why don't you start first?
Sure. I'm Steve Dils. I'm the managing director for the Atlanta office of Avison Young. We're a global real estate firm. We've got north of 120 offices right now and 5,500 employees. Joined the firm in 2010 to open the office in Atlanta. I've been practicing real estate here in Atlanta since 1989. Started way back when leasing office space for Piedmont Center, actually. And worn a few different hats over the years, but also am proud to say that I was a commercial board president in 2016. And then if you go back a little bit, I was the president of the Atlanta chapter of NAIOP in 2006.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Frank?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Frank Simpson, currently the president of the Simpson Company of Georgia. Opened up in about 28 years ago. Prior to that was with another local firm for about 4 years. We have about 18 active brokers. We have a property management division that does full service commercial as well as some residential properties as well. I was the 2011 CCIM Institute president. I was the 2018 Atlanta SIOR president, and involved in the local Georgia chapter president there in 2006.
Excellent. Keene?
Keene Miller with Ackerman Company. I run the brokerage operations of Ackerman. We're a local 50-plus-year-old firm here in Atlanta with Chris Miller and Vivian Barnes. 3 of us run the organization. I've been in the real estate business for 35 plus years. Was president of the commercial board, was involved nationally as president of the Core Network. It's an association our firm is part of, and glad to be here to participate.
Well, we appreciate y'all taking the time again. Why don't we start with just kind of an overview? Why don't you tell us a little about how your firms are operating right now? Is everybody remote? Do you have key personnel in the office? What kind of protocols are you all operating under? And Keene, we'll start with you. We'll go reverse order.
Yeah, sure. So we have moved to working remotely almost entirely. We started that process a number of weeks ago. In fact, really even a little more to the story, truthfully, back 2 months ago, we were sitting in our regular Monday morning meeting, and Chris Miller said at the time, he says, you know, this coronavirus thing, I wonder whether this is the black swan that we keep scratching our head about. Because, you know, in running a company carefully and conservatively as we have, we've, you know, watched this incredible economic cycle we've had go, which has been fabulous. But we've always been sort of looking for what's around the corner that might disrupt things. You know, I was talking to Chris just recently, and, you know, he said, boy, I wish I'd been wrong about that. And, you know, unfortunately, he wasn't wrong. And not that we knew it was coming and we took steps, but it did at least make us pause. And we did think a little bit about what would happen if we had to operate remotely. So Vivian Barnes, our Chief Operating Officer, got on this several weeks ago. She's done a fabulous job, and we are now operating entirely remotely. We have 125 people. We have 40 plus brokers. We are completely remote, other than a few individuals who come in the office for operational necessities like collect the mail, you know, take out checks to get deposited, you know, do what we need to do in terms of paying bills, payroll, that type of thing. We obviously have a certain amount of people on site at various properties. So that's how we're operating today. It's obviously not ideal, but we're managing okay. Our technology guys have been fabulous. We had one real eye-opener, I forget when it was now, about a week ago, where power was cut at the office. So we were really shut down, and that was kind of a panic moment, but power came back up. And again, our technology guys just jumped on it. Chris and Nick are fabulous and got everybody relit in a hurry and underway. So, you know, it's been a challenging experience, but we're managing okay. And, you know, we, you know, I don't want to do it indefinitely, but we're managing through it. So.
Great. Frank, how are y'all set up right now?
Yeah, thank you. Like Keene, we are remote. We have all of our 18 brokers are working from home or remotely, wherever that may be. The good news is we're relatively fluid, and we can make changes quickly. And our IT people got the few that were not set up at home, and our staff is mostly working from home. We do have some critical staff that comes in, as Keene was saying. We've got to collect mail, pay bills, return some calls that we need to do from the office. But for the most part, all the brokers are good, working from home. The staff is coming and going, but for the most part, they're at home. But we sure don't like it. We're the type, we're brokers. We like to communicate and talk and be around people, but we're going to, as Keene said, we're going to weather the storm and come back.
No doubt. No doubt. How about you guys, Steve?
Very similar. We've been out for about a month now. Our executive team got started early on business continuity plans, and so we were prepared when it looked like everybody had to start heading home. Everything we do is in the cloud, so we didn't have to worry about servers or anything like that. It's worked very well. You know, I think the ones that are still going in are those that are engineers, property managers, those kind of things. The people that deposit checks have scanners, so we have somebody going in kind of on an every other day basis to pick them up, either FedEx them to them or delivering them to them so that can get done. I would tell you, you know, some of the things that I think have been key is communication, and then what we're on right now, Zoom, has been huge for everybody because it's so much better than just a regular conference call. And we've made sure to communicate regularly with everybody. In fact, we've even set up a buddy system where every week somebody has somebody that they're divided up in pairs, talk on a regular basis, and we change it so it's not the same person. You know, it's kind of like Groundhog Day, which is kind of what we're living. That's a sentiment I hear regularly. But it's gone very well. I've been really pleased with the resiliency of everybody and the positive attitudes of everybody on our team.
Great. Well, dare I ask about deal volume? You know, here we are. I guess we could say this is probably the fourth week, plus or minus, depending on where you start the clock. You know, here in Atlanta anyway, in terms of school being closed. Of course, it's spring break now for some. You know, I won't ask you to divulge your trade secrets, but I mean, maybe just kind of a up, down, or not sure yet in terms of transaction volume Do you all want to share kind of what you're seeing from your team so far?
Sure. So March for us was great, and there were a lot of deals that got done early in the month, but some significant ones. It was a really good month for the company as a whole, down a little bit. I haven't seen the final numbers yet, but down a little bit. I got noticed that we got a large 2-4 deal done with a major law firm here in town today was signed. So that's good news, but I think those kind of announcements are going to be a little bit fewer and further between going forward.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there as well. We've got a few deals here and there that are still showing some properties, obviously with our social distancing involved. But we have, for the most part, most of our contracts and things are being extended. Very few people have just walked away. Most of them just want to buy another 2 or 3 months to see what it looks like down the road.
Yeah. How about you guys, Keene?
Yeah, I would add that we've had really kind of a similar experience. I would say it has clearly, velocity has now slowed down. We've been out, like Steve said, probably better part of a month, right? And I was out that, from the get-go, because I actually was sick early in the process. So I'm at least potentially a Corona survivor here at this point. We're not sure, but we'll find out later. But I've been out for a whole month, and I was clearly signing off on a lot of vouchers for the first, week or two. That clearly has wound down some. But, some things are still happening. I mean, as recently as last week, there were space showings going on. We had a couple of closings last week. So there's still some activity going on, but has it clearly wound down some? And are we going to be in some degree of period of pause here for some time? Yeah, I think so. I'd also echo what Frank said. I would say we've had less drop contracts and more contract extensions too. Similar experience.
Similar here.
Well, I'm going to make y'all play fortune teller a little bit. You mentioned some of these deals are extending 2 to 3 months. Not taking a political position per se, but what's your best fortune teller moment in terms of what are you at least telling yourself that, the office will be back in full swing? We'll be, I guess, how do you envision this transition and what type of timeline are you projecting, right now?
I'm happy to take a stab at that if you want. There's a lot of unknowns. We're in what is, I think may turn out to be the single biggest event of our lifetimes. But remains to be seen in a certain amount of unknowns. But our expectation is that this is not a light switch, right? You don't just turn the light and everything goes back, right? So, we're expecting that we're going to clearly be out well into May, and maybe, early June is a more realistic time where things will start, pilfering back to some degree of normalcy. But again, that isn't just going to happen overnight. There isn't going to be an announcement, let's all go back to work, right? Everyone shows up the next day. It isn't going to go that way, I don't think, because you're going to get a certain amount of people who say, oh yeah, I'm eager to get back in the office. And I think a certain amount of people maybe, this has been a major, emotional blow, obviously, to the country. A certain amount of people say, I get that we're open now, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable going back yet. And I don't think us as leaders of Ackerman have come up with our thought process yet of how we'll respond to people who might say that to us. I think we'll probably respond in an understanding way. So I don't think it's just going to happen overnight. But that's, to me, realistically, where we, I think where we are.
I would tell you from our standpoint, we're for sure, working remotely through the end of the month. A couple of things I saw yesterday that gave me a little bit of hope that this may not be as long-lived as some are expecting, in that you're starting to see the flattening the curve of deaths up in New Jersey, New York. I don't think so far that we've seen a true epidemic on the death side in Georgia, But as a firm, we're already starting to think about, okay, what does it look like when we come back? And some of the things that, I've been thinking about is, do you bring back, on alternate days so that you maintain spacing? So half your office comes in on a Monday, second half on a Tuesday, and start doing it that way. Do you bring in younger people who are less susceptible earlier, those that are more at risk? Do they stay away? There's just a host of different ways you can do things. And it kind of goes to Keene's point about it's not a light switch where everybody's going to show up. Though I will say, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures from China where they opened up a trail. I guess it was a trail on a mountain, and 20,000 people showed up. Obviously there's no concern there. So I don't know whether that tells you what we'll be like in the U.S., but I'm more inclined to think it'll be a gradual people coming back, even though people want to get back. That's the one sentiment that I don't think working from home is all that everybody maybe thought it was going to be. Everybody misses seeing people. That's the reason for the buddy system. And I think people are going to be anxious to get back in the office when they feel safe enough to do so.
Yeah. And I don't disagree at all. It's not going to happen overnight. But we're trying to be positive. We try to talk positive. We try to talk about what it's going to look like when we come back and what are we doing between now and then when we do come back. But I think somebody used the word accountability. We're trying to talk as a company on a regular basis to make sure that we're all staying positive in this time. That's you've got a lot of type A personalities that are cooped up in their home. And how do we continue to take that energy and create opportunities that are going to happen in the next 2 months? And as they said, we're here through April. We know we think we might be here through part of May, but we do believe it's going to come back. It's just the pipeline has been slowed, so we're going to feel this in October, November, as our industry does.
Maybe if you don't mind, if you could share some words of encouragement or how you're helping to motivate your team, if you're sending them content to enrich, their education or whatever the case may be. Obviously here at the board, we're doing things like this, trying to, help distribute some high level concepts and some new thoughts. Has anything in your reading or anything that y'all are sharing with your team stuck out as kind of a message of encouragement that you'd like to share with our membership?
I'll jump in and start with that. I think one, communication is the key. That's what we found, and it's not all coming from me. I have great leaders that lead the different departments, and they're spending a lot of time communicating with people that report up to them, seeing how they're doing. I think from my position, one of the things that can be helpful is we've got a fair amount of young people that work for us, and they haven't been through anything that really looks like this. I think all of us here have been through a lot of different things. Now, this is probably the biggest thing that has happened to the U.S. and the world since World War II, but we've all been through difficult times, and we know that they end. And I think that is helpful to just have a steady voice that, look, this too shall pass, and it will. What it looks like on the other side, we don't know, but it's not going to be like this forever. And so we try and do that. Some of the things we're doing as a firm, we are having actually daily calls with what we call our emerging leaders, and it's leaders. We had one today that the managing director, who is also broker in the San Francisco office, and then one of our top brokers in Canada, did an hour-long Zoom presentation to the emerging leaders on things they can be doing, techniques, business-wise. We're encouraging people to use this time to learn, do continuing education. So we're doing as much as we can to keep people connected and give them information we think will be helpful to them, during this difficult time.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just think, we try to communicate regularly. And I think communication is the key here, as we not only communicate about business and what we can be doing in business, but also, again, as I say, being accountable, keeping each other built up. We're trying to do Zoom meetings for all the brokers on a weekly basis. It's fun to talk as a group because you hear things that, just make you laugh, which is what we need, some of that in this day and time.
Yeah, I would just echo what Steve and Frank said. I mean, communication is key. At least me personally, I'm making a real effort to call individually and reach out to all our brokers, be in touch with people personally. And look, honestly, the response at our company, as it has been in the country, has been fabulous. I think as dramatic as this event is, it has brought out overwhelmingly the best of America and the best in people. I mean, sure, there's there clearly been some examples made a lot of that weren't the best, but if you look at it as a whole, it's been an overwhelmingly positive response in the country, and I'm finding that with our firm, just great attitude, great people. We're just very fortunate at the company to have the great people we have at the firm. So it's really just staying in touch and communicate with people regularly, and we're doing that.
Well, great. Well, I want to thank you guys again for taking the time out of your adjusted but busy schedules. And I just appreciate you joining us, sharing your thoughts with our membership. We're grateful for your involvement, and we may call on you again for another update on these things, but we appreciate it, and we'll look forward to being in touch in person soon. So thank you all very much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you.